The morning sky over New York turned from blue to purple. At first, people thought it was an unusual weather pattern. Then the ships appeared. Commander Tom West stood on the roof of the Global Defense Center, his eyes fixed on the massive vessels that now filled Earth's skies. They were unlike anything humans had ever built, smooth, dark shapes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. His phone buzzed. It was a message from his wife. "They're closing the schools. Emma's teacher says strange lights are appearing in classrooms." His heart stopped. Emma, his 10-year-old daughter. Get her home now. He typed back, already running toward the elevator. Around him, alarms began to blare. The ships had appeared simultaneously over every major city on Earth. Military radars showed hundreds of smaller craft descending through the atmosphere. Global communications erupted with panic and confusion. Fighter jets scrambled worldwide, but their weapons seemed to pass right through the alien vessels. In his car, Tom broke every traffic law, racing toward Emma's school. The roads were chaos. People abandoning their vehicles, running in all directions, pointing at the sky. Above them, the smaller alien ships were now visible, moving with impossible speed between buildings. He was 3 blocks away when the screaming started. Beams of pale blue light shot down from the alien craft, passing through walls and roofs like they weren't there. Each beam lasted only seconds, but wherever they touched, children vanished. Just children. No adults. No teenagers. Only those between the ages of 5 and 12. Tom abandoned his car and ran. His legs burned, his lungs ached, but he didn't stop. Around him, parents were doing the same, running toward schools, toward homes, toward anywhere their children might be. He reached Emma's school just as a beam swept through it. The blue light was beautiful in a terrible way, like Arctic ice that could burn. Through the windows, he saw children disappearing mid-step, their shapes dissolving into particles of light that floated upward. Emma. His voice was lost in the chaos of hundreds of other parents screaming names. The school's front doors burst open. Children poured out, teachers trying to maintain order despite their own terror. Tom searched the faces, looking for his daughter's red hair. Another beam swept the area. More children vanished. "Daddy." He heard her voice. Emma was running toward him, her backpack bouncing against her small frame. She was only 30 feet away. 20 feet. 10 feet. The blue light descended. Tom lunged forward, arms outstretched. His fingers brushed Emma's reaching hand as the beam enveloped her. For a split second, he saw her eyes wide with fear, her mouth forming words he couldn't hear. Then she was gone, transformed into dancing motes of light that drifted up into the alien ship. He fell to his knees, a scream tearing from his throat that joined the chorus of anguish rising from every parent who had just watched their child vanish. The abduction lasted exactly 7 minutes. When it was over, the smaller ships ascended. The massive vessels in orbit began to move. Military satellites tracked them as they accelerated away from Earth, ignoring the missiles and weapons humanity desperately fired after them. Before they vanished completely, a message appeared on every screen, every phone, every device capable of displaying text. "Your offspring will serve a greater purpose. Do not attempt to follow. You cannot reach where we are going." The final line read, "Be grateful. They will become more than you could have made them." In the aftermath, the numbers came in. 100,000 children taken. Every continent, every country, every race and religion. The collectors, as they would come to be known, had been precise in their selection. Tom West stood in Emma's empty room that night, holding her favorite stuffed bear. On her desk, homework lay unfinished. A half-drunk glass of water sat on her nightstand. Everything looked like she had just stepped out for a moment and would return any second. His phone buzzed. A message from Global Command. Emergency meeting. All senior staff. As he turned to leave, his wife caught his arm. Her eyes were red from crying, but there was steel in her voice. "Find her," she said. "Find our daughter." Tom nodded, his jaw set. The aliens, these collectors, had made a terrible mistake. They had assumed humans would accept their children being taken. They had assumed humans would obey their warning not to follow. They were wrong. They were about to learn why, throughout human history, nothing was more dangerous than a parent protecting their child. The hunt was about to begin. The Global Defense Center's main hall was packed with military leaders from every major nation. 2 weeks had passed since the taking. 2 weeks of satellite data analysis, of gathering reports, of watching parents worldwide sink into despair or rage. Tom West stood at the back of the room, dark circles under his eyes. He hadn't slept more than a few hours since Emma was taken. On the main screen, Admiral Kate Ray addressed the crowd. "We've confirmed the collectors have done this before," she said, her voice hard. 7 other worlds, 7 other species. Each time, they took the young. Images appeared on the screen. Alien worlds, alien beings. Some looked almost human, others were completely different. But in their eyes, Tom saw the same pain he felt. "What happened to those worlds?" someone asked. "Most gave up," Admiral Ray replied. "They accepted their loss. But we're not going to do that, are we?" The room rumbled with agreement. "The collectors think we're like the others," she continued. "Primitive, unable to follow. But they don't know humans very well." She pressed a button, and a new image appeared. "This is Project Wolfpack." The screen showed a massive underground facility. Inside were advanced ships, unlike anything publicly known. They were smaller than regular space vessels, built for speed and stealth rather than power. "We've been preparing for first contact for decades," Admiral Ray explained. "These ships use experimental dark matter drives. They can match the collector's speed, but we need the right people to crew them." She looked around the room. "We need hunters, not just soldiers, not just pilots. We need the most determined, most ruthless trackers humanity has ever produced." Tom stepped forward. "I got names." Over the next hour, they built their list. Special Forces operators, search and rescue experts, bounty hunters, people who had spent their lives finding those who didn't want to be found. And every one of them had lost a child to the collectors. "Training begins tomorrow," Admiral Ray announced. "The collectors think distance will protect them. They think their technology makes them safe." Her smile was sharp. "Let's prove them wrong." The next day, the hunters gathered. Among them was Maria Foster, a former tracker who had hunted drug lords across 3 continents. Her son James had been taken from his bedroom. Next to her stood John Miller, who had spent 15 years finding missing persons. His twins were gone now. Training was brutal. The new ships required perfect coordination. The weapons were based on reversed-engineered alien tech. Every hunter had to learn to think in 3 dimensions, to track through space itself. During a break, Tom found Maria staring at a photo of her son. "We'll find them," he said. She nodded. The collectors chose their targets carefully, but they made one mistake. "What's that?" "They left the parents alive." She tucked the photo away. "They should have killed us. Because now they've given us nothing left to lose." 3 months into training, the first break came. A deep space monitoring station picked up unusual signals. The patterns matched the collector ships. Admiral Ray called an emergency meeting. "We've found something," she said. "A trading station at the edge of known space. Our intel suggests it's where the collectors sell their merchandise." The word made everyone's blood boil. "We're not ready," one of the instructors said. "Training isn't complete." "It'll have to be enough," Tom replied. "The longer we wait, the further they take our children." The decision was made. 3 ships would launch, 15 hunters on each. Their mission: infiltrate the trading station, gather intelligence, and find the first solid lead on where the children had been taken. As Tom prepared to board his ship, named Night Wolf, he touched the photo in his pocket. Emma smiled back at him from happier times. A hand touched his shoulder. It was John Miller. "Ready?" Tom nodded. They think they're safe out there in the dark. They think distance means something. They don't understand, John agreed. Earth's history is full of people who traveled impossible distances to find what was taken from them. And now we have ships that can cross space itself. The hunters boarded their vessels. Across the world, other teams were preparing. More ships would follow. This was just the beginning. As Night Wolf lifted off, cloaked from all detection, Tom made a silent promise to his daughter. Distance didn't matter. Time didn't matter. He would search every dark corner of space. The collectors had started something they couldn't stop. They had created their own worst nightmare. A galaxy full of human parents who would never, ever stop hunting. The trading station hung in space like a giant metal spider web. Ships of various sizes moved between its arms, carrying cargo and passengers from 100 different worlds. The Night Wolf approached invisibly, its dark matter drive humming silently. Reading 30 different species, Maria reported from her scanner. No sign they can detect us. Tom stood behind her, watching the screens. After 2 weeks of space travel, they had reached their first target. His team had changed during the journey. Their eyes had adapted to the darkness of space, their movements becoming smoother in zero gravity. They weren't just parents anymore. They were hunters. There, John pointed to a section of the station. That ship matches collector design. It was smaller than the ships that had attacked Earth, but the same light-absorbing material covered its hull. It was docked at a private bay, away from the main trading areas. "Prep for boarding," Tom ordered. "Remember the plan. We look like traders. We act like traders. We find information." The team dressed in alien merchant clothes stolen from their first covert raid. Their weapons were hidden but ready. Most importantly, they carried devices that would mask their human life signs. Night Wolf docked at a public bay, far from the collector ship. The team split into 3 groups. Tom led his group toward the trade center, while Maria's team moved to hack the station's data systems. John's team would watch the collector ship. The trading floor was a shock to human eyes. Aliens of every shape and size haggled over goods. Some walked on tentacles, others floated in the air. The smell was a mix of strange foods and stranger beings. Tom's team moved carefully through the crowd. Their intelligence suggested that information brokers gathered in the lower levels. As they descended, the corridors became darker, the crowds rougher. "Contact." Maria's voice came through their hidden comms. "Found something in their data. Children have passed through here. Recently." Tom's heart jumped. How recently? 3 days ago. A shipment of processed units. The words made his fists clench. Before he could respond, John's voice cut in. "Movement at the collector ship. 2 of them are heading your way, Tom." "Everyone, stay calm," Tom ordered. "Keep to the plan." They found seats in a dark corner of a trading bar. Minutes later, 2 figures entered. They wore hooded robes, but their movements were smooth, almost floating. The collectors. Tom watched them through the reflective surface of his drink. The aliens moved to a private booth where another creature waited. This one tall, thin, with pale blue skin. Maria's voice whispered, audio feed active. Through their hidden devices, the team could hear the conversation. The collectors spoke in a clicking language, but their translation tech worked perfectly. "The processing continues as planned," one collector said. "The Earth specimens show remarkable adaptability. Better than the last batch." The blue alien asked. "Much better. Their neural patterns are perfect for the modifications. 80% survival rate." Tom's glass cracked in his hand. A nearby alien looked over, but Tom's teammate smoothly replaced the glass, keeping their cover. "Excellent," the blue alien said. "My clients will be pleased. The last group has already been sold. When can they expect the next shipment?" "The main facility processes 100 per day. Shipments leave weekly for the private markets." The conversation continued, discussing prices and arrangements. Tom's team recorded everything. but the next words made them all freeze. "And the originators?" the blue alien asked. "No problems." The collector made a sound like grinding glass, possibly laughter. "The humans, they can barely leave their planet. By the time they develop proper space travel, the children will be fully converted. They'll never find them." In the shadows of their corner, Tom's team exchanged looks. A predator's smile crossed Maria's face. John's hand tightened on his hidden weapon. The meeting ended. The collectors left, never knowing they had just given their hunters exactly what they needed. Back on Night Wolf, the team gathered. The station's stolen data combined with the recorded conversation gave them coordinates, schedules, and most importantly, a location of the main processing facility. "Send it all to command," Tom ordered. "Tell them to deploy all available teams." He stared at the star map showing their next target. The processing facility was deep in collector space, heavily defended. A direct assault would be suicide. "Good thing we're not attacking directly," Maria said, reading his thoughts. "We're hunters. We're going to do this the smart way." Tom nodded. The collectors had just made their second mistake. First, they had taken the children. Now, they had underestimated their parents. They thought humans couldn't reach them, thought they were safe in their hidden facility. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The processing facility orbited a dead star, hidden in a cloud of purple gas. From the outside, it looked like a massive black cube floating in space. Night Wolf and 2 other human ships watched it from the edge of the gas cloud, their cloaking systems running at full power. 6 guard ships, John reported. Automated defense systems. Energy shield. He paused. And life signs. Hundreds of them. Children's life signs. Tom studied the facility's layout on his screen. After 3 days of careful observation, they had mapped every entrance, every patrol route. The collectors were careful, but they had never faced an enemy they couldn't see coming. "Team 2 in position." Maria's voice came through the comm. She had taken a second ship around to the facility's blind spot. "Team 3 ready," came another voice. The third ship waited below the facility. Tom checked his gear one last time. Their suits could handle the vacuum of space. Their weapons were modified to work against collector shields. Most importantly, they carried the cure, specially designed medicine to reverse whatever the collectors were doing to the children. "Remember," Tom said to his team, "we're not here to fight. We're here to hunt, to find our target and get out." He looked at each of them. "First team to find proof of what they're doing to the children. That's the mission." The team nodded. They had trained for this moment. Every person knew their role. "Begin Operation Ghost," Tom ordered. The 3 ships moved silently through the gas cloud. They approached the facility from different angles, using the purple gas as cover. The facility's sensors swept past them, seeing nothing. Team 2 struck first. A small explosion at the far side of the facility, just large enough to draw attention. Guard ships moved to investigate. Entering through Point Alpha, Tom announced. Night Wolf touched down on the facility's surface like a silent predator. Magnetic clamps engage. The team moved out, their boots sticking to the black metal surface. Above them, the dead star cast no light, making them nearly invisible. They found the maintenance hatch exactly where their scans showed it would be. John's hacking device made quick work of the lock. One by one, they entered the facility. Inside, the corridors were dark, lit only by strips of pale blue light, the same color as the beams that had taken their children. Tom's team moved like shadows, their suits masking their life signs. "Contact," whispered one of his team members, 2 collectors ahead. They pressed against the walls. The collectors passed by, never noticing the hunters hiding in plain sight. Their robes made the same floating motion Tom had seen at the trading station. "Found something." Maria's voice came through the comm. "Level 3, Section B, some kind of observation room." Tom's team changed direction, heading toward Maria's position. They encountered more collectors, but their stealth tech held. The aliens were completely unaware of the humans moving through their facility. They reached the observation room. Through a large window, they saw something that made their blood freeze. Children floated in tanks of glowing liquid, tubes and wires connected to their small bodies. Collectors moved between the tanks, taking readings, making adjustments. "Emma," Tom whispered. His daughter was in one of the tanks, her red hair floating like fire in the liquid. Her eyes were closed, but monitors showed she was alive. "James is here too," Maria's voice cracked. They're changing them." Screens around the room showed data in the collector's language. Their translation tech worked quickly. Words appeared: neural reconfiguration, genetic modification, personality suppression. They were erasing the children, erasing what made them human. "Download everything," Tom ordered, his voice hard. "Every file, every detail of what they're doing." He stared at his daughter's floating form. "This isn't just a rescue mission anymore." "Sir," John's voice was urgent. "We've got company. A lot of company." They just detected Team 3's ship. Alarms began to blare throughout the facility. The element of surprise was gone. Tom made a quick decision. New plan. "Maria, get that data to command. Everyone else, prepare for combat." He checked his weapon. "We're not leaving without the children." The collectors had made their final mistake. They had let humans see what they were doing to their children. Now they would learn why Earth's history books were full of stories about what happened to those who harmed human children. The hunt had become a war. Red emergency lights flashed through the facility's corridors. The sound of alarms mixed with the strange clicking language of panicked collectors. They had never expected their victims to find them, let alone fight back. "Team 3, status." Tom called through the comm as his group took defensive positions around the observation room. "Under heavy fire," came the reply. "But we're keeping them busy. Most guards are heading our way." Tom turned to his team. "John, get those tanks open. Maria, protect him. Everyone else, defensive positions." He checked the data on his wrist screen. "We've got 15 minutes before their reinforcements arrive." The observation room became a fortress. Human hunters used doorways and equipment as cover, their weapons ready. Through the windows, they could see collectors rushing through connecting corridors. John worked frantically at the tank controls. "Their system's fighting me," he reported. "They've got some kind of genetic lock." "Keep trying," Tom ordered. He watched Emma floating in the green liquid, tubes still connected to her small body. "We're not leaving them like this." The first attack came from 3 directions. Collectors burst through doorways, wielding weapons that fired streams of the same blue energy they used on Earth. But this time, humans were ready. Modified shields on their suits absorbed the blue energy. Human weapons, designed based on stolen collector technology, fired back. The aliens fell, their robes smoking. "Got it," John shouted. The tanks began to drain. "Medical team, stand by." As the liquid drained, the children began to stir. The tubes detached automatically. Emma's eyes fluttered open, confused and scared. "Warning," Maria called from her position. "Large group approaching. At least 30 hostiles." Tom made a quick decision. "Medical team, start the treatment. Everyone else, prepare for heavy combat." He touched his comm. "Team 2, we need that extraction route now." The children were barely conscious as the medical team quickly injected them with the cure. The treatment designed to reverse the collector's changes. Some of the kids started crying. Others just looked around in confusion. The next wave of collectors hit like a storm. Blue energy blasts filled the air. Humans returned fire, their weapons proving that Earth's reverse-engineered technology worked perfectly. "The children are stabilizing," the medical chief reported. "But they need time for the cure to work." "Time is something we don't have," Tom replied. Through his comm, he heard Team 3 fighting their way toward them. Team 2 was trying to secure their escape route. Then something changed. The collectors suddenly pulled back. In the sudden quiet, A new sound filled the facility, a deep humming that made the walls vibrate. "They're powering up something big," John mourned, checking his sensors. "Some kind of energy weapon." Tom looked at the children. Most were awake now, including Emma. The cure was working. The unnatural paleness was fading from their skin, awareness returning to their eyes. "Dad?" Emma's voice was weak but clear. "I'm here, sweetheart." Tom wanted nothing more than to hold her, but there wasn't time. "Can you walk?" She nodded slowly. Around her, other children were standing, supported by the medical team. "New plan," Tom announced. "We move now. Everyone carry a child if they can't walk. We're taking the direct route out." "The direct route?" Maria asked. "Through their main corridor." Tom smiled grimly. "They think we're trapped. They think we're desperate." He checked his weapon. "Let's show them what desperate humans can do." The team moved out, each adult carrying or supporting a child. They formed a triangle formation. Strongest fighters on the outside, medical team and children in the center. As they entered the main corridor, the facility's lights went dark. The humming grew louder. "They're trying to scare us," Tom told his team. "Remember your training. Remember why we're here." The darkness lit up with blue energy blasts. Human weapons fired back, lighting the corridor with explosions. They moved forward, step by step, protecting their children with everything they had. The collectors were about to learn the most important lesson about humans. Nothing fights harder than a parent protecting their child. And these parents had come prepared for war. The main corridor of the processing facility had become a war zone. Smoke filled the air as human weapons clashed with collector technology. The rescue team moved forward like an unstoppable force, their formation protecting the children at all costs. 600 meters to extraction point, Maria called out, firing at a group of collectors trying to flank them. Tom carried Emma in one arm, his weapon ready in the other hand. The cure was working. Color had returned to her face, and her grip on his shoulder was getting stronger. Around them, other children were showing similar signs of recovery. "Dad," Emma whispered, "there's something you need to know about the collectors." Before she could continue, the facility shook violently. The humming they'd heard earlier reached a painful pitch. "Energy spike," John shouted. "They're bringing their main weapon online." Through the smoke ahead, a new figure appeared, taller than the other collectors, wearing robes made of shifting metallic material. The High Collector, the facility's commander. Humans, its voice was like grinding metal, broadcast directly into their minds. "You show impressive determination, but you cannot comprehend what we do here. The children are part of a greater purpose. The only purpose they serve," Tom called back, "is their own." The High Collector raised its arms. The metallic robe began to spread, forming a shimmering shield around it. "You primitive beings cannot understand. We improve them. We elevate them, as we have done for countless species." "They're lying," Emma said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "We saw their real plans, in their computers, in their minds." Other children began to speak up, their voices growing stronger. "They want to turn us into weapons," one boy said. "They're scared of humans," another child added. "They want to control us before we get stronger." The High Collector's shield flickered. "Silence. The process cannot be reversed. They are ours now." But the children continued speaking, their minds clearing more with each passing minute. The cure wasn't just healing their bodies, it was freeing their minds. During their captivity, they had seen things, learned things about the Collector's true plans. "Command, are you getting this?" Tom asked through his comm. "Every word." Admiral Ray's voice replied, "All teams are moving to your position, and we're not alone." As if on cue, new alarms blared through the facility. On the screens along the walls, security feeds showed dozens of ships appearing around the facility, but they weren't human ships. The other species, Maria realized, the ones who lost their children before. They followed us here. The High Collector's shield pulsed with energy. You dare to challenge us? We have existed for millennia. We have taken children from 100 worlds. And that was your mistake, Tom replied. Because now those 100 worlds know where to find you. The facility rocked with explosions as the combined fleet began their attack. The High Collector's shield expanded, filling the corridor with blinding light. If we cannot have them, it roared, none shall. The walls began to crack as the facility's main weapon charged to full power. But the children, their minds now clear, knew what to do. The shield, Emma said. It's connected to their neural network. The same one they use to control us. Tom understood. All children, focus. Remember what they taught you, what they put in your minds. Use it against them. The children closed their eyes in concentration. The High Collector stumbled as its shield began to flicker wildly. Impossible, it screamed. You cannot. Now, Tom ordered. Every human weapon fired at once, combining with the children's mental assault. The High Collector's shield shattered like glass. In that moment of victory, Emma tugged her father's sleeve. Dad, there's more. We know where the other facilities are. We know where all the other children are kept. Tom smiled grimly. Command, did you get that? Loud and clear, Admiral Ray replied. All teams, prepare for Phase 2. We're not just saving our children anymore. The rescue mission had just become a liberation campaign. Humanity was about to free every child the Collectors had ever taken. 3 months after the battle at the processing facility, Tom stood on the observation deck of Earth's new space station. Below him, the planet looked peaceful, but everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone, no longer confined to their world. Emma stood beside him, fully recovered from her ordeal. The cure had worked perfectly. All the children had returned to normal, but they kept the knowledge they had gained during their captivity. Knowledge that had changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Another facility liberated, Maria reported, walking onto the deck. That makes 17. Over 10,000 children from different species rescued. The combined fleet of humans and their new allies had been unstoppable. The information from the children's minds had given them everything they needed. Coordinates, security codes, weaknesses. One by one, the Collector's facilities fell. How did today's mission go? Tom asked. Perfect, Maria smiled. The Collector forces ran as soon as they saw our ships. They've learned to fear the sight of human vessels. On the main screen, reports scrolled in from across the galaxy. The Collector's empire was crumbling. Their clients had abandoned them. Their slave markets had closed, and their once mighty fleet was in ruins. John entered the room, carrying new data tablets. Latest intel from the Alliance, he said. The Alliance, a union of all species who had lost children to the Collectors, had formed in the wake of the first rescue. The Collectors are trying to reach their homeworld, John continued. They think they'll be safe there. Emma looked up at her father. They won't be. We know where it is. Tom nodded. During their captivity, the children had seen into the Collector's collective memory. They knew everything, including the location of the Collector's hidden homeworld. Admiral Ray's hologram appeared in the center of the room. All teams, prepare for the final operation. The Alliance fleet is assembled. Through the station's windows, they could see ships gathering. Vessels of every size and design, crewed by beings from worlds across the galaxy, all united by a single purpose, to end the Collector's threat forever. They never understood, Emma said softly. The Collectors thought they were making us better, making us stronger. But they didn't realize. Realize what? Tom asked. That humans were already strong. All they did was show us how to reach the stars. She touched the window. And now we're helping others be strong too. The rescue missions had done more than save children. They had shown the galaxy something new. The power of human determination. The strength of human love. The ferocity of human protection. Other species, long cowed by the Collectors, had found their courage by following humanity's lead. "Fleet is ready," Admiral Ray announced. "All rescue teams, report to your ships." Tom looked at his team. They weren't just hunters anymore. They had become leaders, teachers, showing other species how to fight back, how to protect their own. "One last mission," he said. "Let's finish this." As they walked to their ships, now larger and more powerful than the original Night Wolf, aliens nodded respectfully as they passed. The sight of human rescue teams had become a symbol of hope across the galaxy. Emma hugged her father before he boarded. "Remember what you taught me," she said, "about why humans are different." Tom smiled. "What did I teach you?" "You said that through all of human history, people thought we were violent because we fought so much. But that wasn't it at all." She looked up at him. "We fought because we loved so much, because we would do anything to protect what we loved." "That's right," Tom said. "And now the whole galaxy knows it." The ships lifted off, hundreds of vessels moving in formation. The collectors had thought they were superior, thought they could take children from their parents without consequences. They had been wrong. They had united the galaxy against them. They had given humanity a reason to reach the stars. And most importantly, they had learned the most dangerous truth in the universe. Never take a child from a human parent. Because humans would cross galaxies, fight armies, and tear down empires to bring their children home. The collectors had started this war by taking Earth's children. Humanity would end it by making sure they could never take anyone's children again.